Hey, Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. We're talking about a fourth straight Cubs win, and I don't know what to do with myself. But before we dive into everything today, I am Ron Luce, joined by the one and only Mr. Cody Del Mendo. Sir, it's Friday. The Cubs win. We're talking about the Michael Hermosillo game. How are you feeling today?
Ron, I'm way too excited about a team that has just got their 61st win of the year, man. I'm way too excited about it. I'm actually regret not going to Wrigley today. I thought about it, and then I was like, well, I got to go to a wedding tomorrow. Got a fantasy football draft on Sunday, in which I'm gonna throw away money. Got another one on Monday. Like, I got to get to the wedding tomorrow. Got to get the hotel. Like, there's money to be spent this weekend. It's Labor Day weekend. So I didn't go to the Cubs game, but I so regret it, man. That was a fun one. Such a fun one. That's what always happens. I feel like that's going to be the new thing for me since I'm so close now. Like, I'm going to regret not going to games now because I literally can go to any game I want.
Right.
But nonetheless, it was great to sit here on my couch today, just kind of chill and just watch the game and not really. I mean, there was only one inning where I was pissed off, but other than that, I was pretty content, man. Like,
yeah,
I think we got a little bit of everything today, right? Like, you got offense, Alec Mills. I don't know how many earned runs versus unearned runs, but overall he was pretty good. I didn't tweet the picture out because I think essentially he still gave up 5 runs, 3 unearned, whatever.
Five runs, but only 2 of them were earned. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. I only like to tweet the picture when he's just really on, because it's just a perfect picture, and you know what picture I'm talking about. But he continues to prove again that he's got himself a nice role with the team going into next year. The Michael Hermosillo game. I tweeted that I was like, if he gets the cycle, I'll run 6 miles instead of 3, because after this, I want to go for a run. What I've decided, since he didn't get the cycle, I'm going to go run 4 miles instead of 3, because the Cubs have won 4 in a row. So
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, that's a nice little consolation for everyone who gives a fuck. Yeah, but I mean, Frank Schwindel, the legend, he continues, man. The big homer there to I guess kind of clap back at the Pirates after they tied the game after blowing a 5-0 lead. Patrick Wisdom had a nice defensive play. Ian Happ continues his really nice stretch.
Sure does.
And then in the bullpen, Cody Hoyer, again, he's shoving. Rowan Wick in the 9th innings, 3 strikeouts, 3 batters. Just fire emoji me up, baby. That shit was fire. What else? Even Trevor McGill looked okay. I know this is the Pirates. I don't give a shit. We're the Cubs, though. We're supposed to suck. Everyone says this team's worse than the 2012 Cubs, which when people were saying that, I was laughing my ass off. All right. So
agreed.
Whatever. A win's a win. We've won 4 in a row, and we're doing exactly what I wanted the Cubs to do. I was hoping it was going to happen is start coming together right after the trade deadline. The month of August was very painful, but they're finding spots for guys, and you're putting guys in position to perform in roles that you'll see them in next year. Cody Hoyer, late inning, high leverage spot. Rowan Wick, save situation.
Yep.
You're getting contributions out of certain guys. Hermosillo, he owns Brault for the rest of his career, it seems like, because he just mashes left-handed pitching.
Seriously,
like you're seeing guys in spots you're going to see them in next year, or at least that you would like to see them in next year, and you're thinking, okay, this is what we have. It's better than just shitting the bed every single game and not knowing what you have and losing every game. Like I hate my mentions right now on Twitter, man. I absolutely hate them. These people are fucking soft ass vanilla ice cream cones. They're fucking soft. Like, what did Herm Edwards say? You play to win the goddamn game. And this isn't the NFL. This isn't the NBA. The MLB draft is so different compared to those 2 other leagues. Like, you have to figure out what you have. Right. And that the Cubs have been able to start doing that since honestly, since the weekend after, or since the day after the Royals series.
Yeah.
And even during the Royals series, even though they lost all three, you saw some glimpses of like what some of these guys can do. Obviously, Schwindel with winning rookie
of the month. Yeah.
rookie of the month, you know.
Yeah.
Like is like you're seeing some things, and like this is all I asked. Like I said before they made the trades, I was like, if they make trades, you'd like to just be able to put something out there that at least you can have an outlook on what the Cubs offseason looks like and what next year looks like. And that's why I tweeted today was like, you know, this team might have more wins if Nick Madrigal and Nico Horner are playing.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so many people were in my mentions saying, no, the pitching sucks. And like, yeah, for sure. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs or anything, but like, you can't tell me that the team wouldn't have more wins,
right?
If those two guys were playing every day.
Well, and something too that's not even necessarily a literal win, but the win being, like you said, you get to see these guys in their positions for the future, right? If Madrigal's playing second base every day, he's realistically probably your second baseman for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Same thing with Nico Horner, wherever he's playing. Maybe he's moving around and he's becoming that Ben Zobrist-like player for this next great Cubs team that we're gonna, hashtag trademark and everything like that, because that's gonna be used a lot for the next 2 years. But like you said, today was a perfect example of that, right? Alec Mills, a guy that realistically, you and I just talked about it on the show on Wednesday. Probably your fifth starter going into next season. The way he's pitched, he's been very good. Yes, he gave up the 2 long balls today and whatever, but overall, very good. And then Cody Hoyer in a high leverage situation in the 8th. Rowan Wick in a high leverage save spot in the 9th. Like that's what, like you said, Cody, way back when everybody was like, we want the Cubs to suck because embrace the tank. And like, but you put it perfectly. The MLB draft is so different than every other sport. None of these guys, unless you're maybe the number 1 overall pick, are up within half a year of when they were drafted. It's multiple years that these guys are out. So just because you suck, great. Yeah, you get a better opportunity at a better prospect effectively, but that doesn't make you immediately better like it can in the NFL or in the NBA or, in some of these other sports. I mean, even the NHL, like if you're at least in the top 3 or 4 picks, realistically, that guy's probably making your team right away. It ain't like that in baseball. You know what I mean? So it was really nice today. I think that was the best part of today's game, right? Was, like you said, just seeing what this team has for the future and the guys performing in spots that they very well might be in 2022.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not saying that back then I was like, the Cubs can still win and make the playoffs after those trades. I was just saying, whatever you do, whoever you're going to play after the trades, just put them in position to be successful. And that is what they're doing since the month of September started. I know it's only been 3 days, but even last week, they went 4-4 to end August, like the last 8 games. Like they were starting to put it together a little bit of at least giving you some sort of outlook of what the team really looks like. And again, I know they're not playing good teams. I know that if that team played the Dodgers tomorrow or any team that's honestly has any legit shot in the playoffs, I know that they aren't going to play well against those teams. I'm not saying that these players are going to lead us to the next World Series, but some of them could have a role with the team next year and even beyond in a different role. Like they won't be starters every day. They could just, they could be a platoon. We've talked about Rivas and Schwindel as a potential platoon spot at first base, but hell, Rivas was playing left field today. He can play all over, it looks like. Yeah. Schwindel, I mean, and you got to think about the DH coming to the NL after this year as well. Absolutely. So there's a lot of factors in there. And that's why, I've been so annoyed with people who are just like, there's no one on this team that's going to be part of the next team that, is a division winner or anything. And I'm like, that just doesn't, you just don't watch enough Cubs baseball. You must not watch any baseball at all. I've watched the Cardinals my entire life throw no-name motherfuckers out there and fucking be there, be in it every single year. every single year. And you know what? A lot of them are in their mid to late 20s going into their 30s.
Yep.
And you know how they fucking do, like they do that and then they trade them all at the right time to get value back, but still remain consistently good after that.
Cubs legend Shelby Miller is a perfect example of that.
Exactly. Cubs fucking legend Shelby Miller. Oh, buddy. So I'm not saying that's exactly how the Cubs need to do it or that's what they're going to do, but you can't tell me that Patrick Wisdom doesn't have a spot on this team next year, or Rafael Ortega, or even Michael Hermosillo. At the very least, Michael Hermosillo is a fourth outfielder, and he starts on days you're facing lefties because he's mashing lefties. That's like, it feel like the only time they're playing him is when they go up against a lefty. I've seen people on Twitter saying that he needs to play every day, and I'm with you. I think he should play every single fucking day.
Agreed.
He just has a vibe and swag about him that I fucking love, man. And it also helps that he's just a hometown guy, or a local guy, whatever. But I love what we're seeing right now because it's at least given us some sort of optimism and like a reason to watch. And even if they had lost the last 4 games, they've won 4 in a row, even if they had lost the last 4 games, at least they were in the games. Like that's all I'm looking for is be in the games and put guys in spots to succeed in. And if they don't succeed, that's probably why they're losing. But you can at least figure it out when you're getting blown out every single game, which is what it felt like for like the first couple weeks of August. It's like, what's the point? It was hard for me to like pay attention to every single game.
Yeah. But I mean, you put it perfectly, right? Like they finally are starting to catch that stride now. It feels like okay, we know what we've got now. We know who's here at the moment. We know Frank Schwindel can hit over 300. He's doing it right now for the season. We know Patrick Wisdom can have the power that we need in this lineup and be, not just a good power bat, but also an incredibly effective defender over at third base. We have guys in the middle infield that can play well. They have outfielders that can contribute. I think perfect examples of that. You mentioned Michael Hermosillo. We've talked about Rafael Ortega. We've talked Ian Happ is hot as shit right now. Like there are so many guys that are starting to like kind of just catch their stride a little bit. And that's what's, like you said, what's fun to watch. Like I'm all here for seeing guys like Manny Rodriguez and Cody Hoyer and Rowan Wick in high leverage situations where this team can win a ball game. Like, because that's just going to help their development. Like people got to remember Rowan Wick was the best Cubs relief pitcher for 2019 and 2020 before he got hurt. He was better than Craig Kimbrell. He was better than Ryan Tepera. He was better than all of them. Yeah. And like you saw it today. Like if he's on, he's electric.
I don't think it's an argument. I think he had his best outing of the season today. I know he hasn't
might be one of the best of his career.
Yeah, like he was very much back. Very much back. And I know his last appearance, or I guess last night, he gave up the 2 runs in that 9th inning. I missed most of yesterday's game, so I don't exactly know how that formulated, but he rebounded today, man. And you love to see that because especially for those back end guys, when it comes to confidence and stuff, man, you got to like be able to just block out what happened the night before if it didn't go well. And he did that because he came in, got 3 strikeouts, 3 batters, 3 strikeouts, looked absolutely electric, looked like a guy that you're going to want out there in the late innings. It'll be interesting to see next year how they go with the closer, or they choose who the closer is, because I think we've talked about it. Cody Hoyer has, closer stuff as well. I think they like Wick more as a closer because he throws a little bit harder, a little bit faster fastball, upper 90s. Hoyer's more of like a mid 90s. Maybe that's why I'm not a pitching coach. I'm not here to tell you why or what, but that's just like, I think it'll be between those 2 guys next year. But either way, like I like both of them. Then you add in Manny Rodriguez, who is pumping 100, and
it's crazy.
Trevor McGill, I know, like I've listened to a few of our post-game pods where I think Joe and maybe all of us have said it at some point.
I've definitely said some bad things about Trevor McGill before.
Like I don't really
That's
know.
What we're getting at here.
I don't know his role, but like if he's pitching like he did today, he deserves a shot too. Sure. Like I do remember in April he did impress me, and then he had to go on the IL for some sort of injury. So that kind of derailed him. And then since he's come back, he hasn't been very good. But today was a lot different.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe him. Then you obviously got Brad Wick. Like this bullpen. Plus you got whoever they have in Iowa who's going to get a shot at some point next year. Because if there's anything in Iowa, it's bullpen arms. You know what I mean? Ben Leaper's still there.
That's what they're loaded up on right now at AAA.
So and then what's the guy who pitched last night? Efros?
Mm-hmm.
Is that his name?
Efros.
I watched the highlights. He looked really good too.
Yeah.
I don't really know a lot about him, but he looked good last night. And what's his name? Adrian Sampson as well. Like these random dudes.
Adrian Sampson, I have actually been incredibly impressed with lately because for whatever reason, like the last maybe 2.5 weeks, every time he actually has pitched, it's been at least usually more than one inning, and he's been very good.
Right.
Very good.
I thought yesterday's game was going to just be like a blowout after how Keegan Thompson did not perform well, come out in the second inning. And then I look at the score later and I'm like, oh shit, it's still 3-0. At least we're in it. At least the bullpen's showing up tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't see it coming. Really didn't see it coming.
Yeah, and then the legend of Rafael Ortega, tied it up and at least made it interesting. And then even a Hap went deep. And that's the thing too. In addition with today's game, like because I do want to talk about the bullpen too, really quick, because I think you had a lot of good points there. But like worth noting, 3 guys had 3 hits in today's game for the Cubs. Ian Happ had 3 hits. Hermosillo had 3 hits, and Frank Schwindel had 3 hits. So like. The offense was producing. There's guys here that can make an impact on next season's roster. And going back to the bullpen, like there's a legitimate chance. I'm really telling you, like I'm gonna say it right now. And I hope I can come back to this clip and grab it out and stick it in a tweet next season. You're now gonna start seeing the mark of Dan Kantrovitz on this team and the pitching lab, because they're legitimately going to be able to have almost every single one of their bullpen arms be able to pitch in high leverage situations. And when you have that type of stuff in your bullpen, watch out, because especially in today's day and age of the way baseball is, especially in the postseason, yes, it's nice having a starter that can get you deeper into a game, 6-7 innings. But God forbid he can only go 5 because of pitch count or whatever.
Right.
If you got 4 guys coming out of the pen that can pump nasty shit and shut down your opponent, like I feel comfortable. Like, and that's going to be a huge key for this team going forward. You mentioned some of the names, right? We got Brad Wick next season, who was electric before, everything with his heart, which thankfully, for those that have been following along with him, sounds like everything's going great, which we love to hear. You got Rowan Wick. You've got Cody Hoyer, you got Manny Rodriguez, and you got some of the other guys that are along the way that I know you and I have talked about might come out of the bullpen. Guys like Ryan Jensen maybe next year, Caleb Killian. Maybe we see first-round pick Jordan Wicks next year. There's a total like I would love to see Wick, and Wicks next year.
Yeah, right.
In the bullpen, you know what I mean? Like, but again, like it's they have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to guys that can pitch out of the pen, and that to me that's what's going to make this turnaround a lot quicker, because you do have the position guys coming. You can go buy position guys because of so much money that's going to become available here for the Cubs starting next season. But when you can just churn out bullpen arms the way they do, like that, they're never going to have to do a Craig Kimbrell where you go spend $16 million for an electric guy, because they're going to be pumping these guys out on $800K contracts.
Right.
And that's what's going to allow them to be successful and spend money in the places that they actually need it.
Yeah, no, you hit it right on the nail, man. The biggest thing for me is just like they've completely revamped the farm on the pitching side. For so many years, I've had to listen about how the Cubs could not develop pitching. Mm-hmm. And I mean, people have even said it this year, man. I've had to read tweets where people are like, this team can't develop pitching. And it's like, have you not watched the goddamn game? Have you not watched?
Yeah.
And God, I need to stop reading my mentions, man.
I was going to say
stop doing.
Also, I thought it was also very interesting, though. Speaking of your mentions, that because a guy has a salsa and he sells jerseys because he's in the major leagues, like normal major league ball players do, that immediately makes him a better player than a player that is actually outplaying the said player who sells jerseys and makes salsa. And
Yeah.
Aaron, you're 100% correct, buddy. Cody's mentions are literally flooded with stupidity because it's dumb. Like, literally that exchange, and clearly he's a Cardinals fan. Clearly.
Maybe. I don't know.
He has to be. His profile picture is the L flag, for fuck's sake. Like, it's got to be, right? Like, to me, that just screams you're a Cardinals fan, because if you're really that tied up in the fact that Matt Carpenter has sold jerseys, even though he's batting like 200, and I think he's a below 100 WRC plus player over the last few seasons.
Yeah.
He's garbage. He's hot garbage. Great. He sold salsa. Good for you, Big Pimp. I'm glad you found a business endeavor for when your career is inevitably over in the next 2 years, because you can't hit Major League pitching. You know who can hit Major League pitching? Patrick fucking Wisdom, because he's about to break the Cubs home run rookie record in like 100 games over the course of a season.
I had to mute the guy. I had to stop looking at it. That way it didn't show up in my mentions anymore. The thing is like, I'll have a conversation with people about the Cubs, but this guy literally tried to tell me that because of Matt Carpenter's jersey sales, he's better than Patrick Wisdom right now. Hilarious. And he went through, I'm not saying that Matt Carpenter hasn't had a good career, but if you look at him the last few years and you look at how the Cardinals got rid of Patrick Wisdom for a goddamn washing machine, you know the Cardinals regret that. It, especially because they're like right on the brink of the NL wild card. And Matt Carpenter is fucking terrible. And they could use Patrick Wisdom's production. Yeah, I know Patrick Wisdom is like 30 years old, and he's not a guy the Cubs aren't going to build around. But he's going to be on the team, and he's going to be a part of it as part of the rebuild or whatever you want to fucking call it.
Yeah.
You fucking kidding me? Using jersey sales to fucking tell me that Matt Carpenter is better than Patrick Wisdom? Voice Matt Carpenter's had a nice career, and he had a great 2018. I believe he was in the MVP chase that year. He's probably a top 5 finisher in the MVP vote that year. And then the Cardinals, I'm pretty sure, gave him a contract extension, and he has sucked ever since then. And,
would you like to know his averages over the last 3 seasons since that really nice 2018 year for Matt Carpenter?
I'd love to hear him, Ron. I'd love to.
So in 2019, he hit 226. In 2020, he hit 186. And in 2021, when I was told that all the great players will rebound after their terrible 2020 seasons, he's actually hitting worse with a whopping 181 this season. But let him tell you that a guy with 25 home runs and less than 300 at-bats is worse than a guy who's hitting 181 and effectively slashing 181, 318, 294. Holy shit. That is
he's got an OPS. He's got an OPS close. It's been between 800 and 900 for like the entire time. At one point, he had an OPS over 1,000, and that was because he didn't have as many at bats and he started out so hot. But like, he's had an OPS above 800 the entire season.
Yes,
the entire season. If there's one flaw against Patrick Wisdom, is that yes, he does strike out a lot. And I know I've bitched about Javi Baez, but at least Patrick Wisdom makes literally nothing. He deserves the David Bodie contract, honestly.
Yeah.
But this guy's just one example. Like someone else in my mentions earlier tried to tell me that he doesn't understand why people or why Braylon Marquez is still ranked high in the Cubs farm system. And he said he didn't look good in last year, and he hasn't pitched this year because of injuries. What's so big about this guy? It's like this motherfucker, Braylon Marquez pitched in 1 game in 2020. And can you really blame injury on if someone's good or not? Can you really blame injury on if someone's good or not?
Last time I checked, Ken Griffey Jr. would be the best baseball player ever if he didn't get hurt. But nobody's going to sit here and tell me he's not a Hall of Famer. True. Because you got hurt.
This guy was telling me he was done with Braylon Marquez, and I'm like, you used 1 game to decide that you're done on a power lefty who throws
pumps 102. Yeah, like, and even sure, and maybe Braylon Marquez doesn't ever turn out into the starter that I think a lot of people were truly hoping he would be. But if you're telling me he could be the second coming of a Aroldis Chapman as a bullpen arm, to me that's worth his weight in gold too.
it's just so frustrating reading my mentions sometimes, man, because it's like there's really this many dumb people out there. There's really that many dumb people. It's almost like they just don't watch. That or they just are so stuck in the past and just look at stats, like look at batting average, and they're like, oh, this guy's hitting 220, so he sucks because but sometimes there's guys who like fucking Yasmani Grandal, for example. He's hitting below 200 or right around the Mendoza line, right? But he has an OPS over 900, right?
Yeah, he might be the most interesting player. To me, he is the most Moneyball player in baseball because he's hitting like 185, but he has like 15 home runs and like 50 something RBIs, but he has an OBP over 400. Because why do we like him? Because he gets on base.
Gets on base. Yep, he gets on base.
And that's the thing is like, and see, Cody, I don't know if you remember, but I remember. I've been in a little bit of a mood today, so we're getting.
I love this. Today. I love being petty. I love being petty to all my mentions now. I love being petty to all these people, all these motherfuckers. All of you,
because
this feels great.
It does feel great, Ron. Because here's the thing, Cody, that I was told. We did our episode, right? Trade deadline, and we recapped the trades, and we talked about Anthony Rizzo, and you and I did that episode, and then we all jumped on to talk about the KV trade and the Marisnik trade, and all these other trades that occurred.
Right.
And then for that week after, I was being told by many Cubs fans on Twitter, in person, all over the place, that they weren't going to watch games anymore. So if you're going to give me a legitimately somewhat educated opinion, why don't you at least watch the games first and then give me that opinion? Because I can give you an opinion on the Seattle Mariners, but I'm going to sound like an asshole because I haven't watched a single Seattle Mariners game this season. Actually, I have not watched a single Seattle Mariners game probably in my entire life.
Not even when Griffey and Edgar Martinez were there. That was a long time ago.
No, yeah. Unfortunately, my biggest recollection of Griffey was his Reds days. That is for me like the Griffey I remember as a kid, because I was unfortunately a little too young to appreciate sports in general when he was in Seattle. But nonetheless, but that's the thing, right? It's like, again, I'm like you said, right? If you want to have a legitimate conversation about the Cubs, let's do it. Like, come chat with us in our comments. We get great comments here on Cubs on Tap on a regular basis. Like, the thing about it is it's just like, let's have a conversation, because most of the time, a lot of these takes that people have, they're literally just trying to spark a reaction. It's not even an educated, like, this is what I think. Like, I love when somebody's like, hey, perfect example. Let's use the Braylon Marquez thing again. If somebody came back and was like, hey, I'm a little concerned about Braylon Marquez because he's been hurt for so long. Okay, that's a fair concern to have. Like, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. But if you come back and tell me Braylon Marquez is a bust, how the fuck do you know? You don't know yet. We can't sit here and do that yet. Now, again, we can go back and look at somebody like Brett Jackson and say, yeah, that just didn't work out. But like, this kid's still so young. He's what, 24 years old? Like, even if he debuts as he technically debuted already, but let's say he re-debuts with the Cubs when he's 26. He's still young as shit. And if he's still pumping 100, I don't care if he comes up and he's a bullpen arm. Like, that's the thing that people need to realize is, like, not every guy that's a top prospect, A, is going to work out. It's a total crapshoot as it is. And B, in addition to that, like, just because he's the number 2 Cubs prospect, that doesn't guarantee you he's going to be a Hall of Fame starter. Like, he could come up and just be an Aroldis Chapman. And like I said, last time I checked, when a guy that was named Aroldis Chapman, similar style of Braylon Marquez, pitched for the Chicago Cubs, they won a World Series. So, like, just because he's not the starter that everybody wanted him to be doesn't mean he can't be a valuable, like, good player for the Cubs.
Right.
And it's just, again, but a lot of that too is, and actually, I am going to pull this up. Thank you, Jared Holman, for jumping this into our comments here, because he says there are so many Twitter Cub fans that 100% don't actually watch any games. And I agree. They root for the team because, like, in their family or whatever, they're Cubs fans, like, if they had to pick a side, but they don't watch the games. And then they find reasons to bitch. And it's like, but what are you bitching about? You're bitching at air, essentially, because you're just reading what everybody else has to say. and then formulating an opinion off something you didn't even see. It's like right now, if somebody came to me legitimately right now and was like, you know what, Ron? I don't think Rowan Wick has it anymore. And I'd be like, why?
Why?
And if they were like, well, he didn't pitch all of 2021, I'd be like, yeah, because he was hurt. Like, I hate to break it to you, he can't pitch when he's hurt. It doesn't work that way. You know what I mean?
That reminds me, someone came out, or someone said at another one of my mentions about, because I was tweeting about Nico Horner and Madrigal. Someone was like, yeah, well, Nico Horner can't stay on the field or whatever. And I was like, here we go again.
Wasn't that you and I that went through that on this show?
Yeah.
That he's literally only played like 107 MLB games.
Here we go again.
The dude, like, it's the same thing with Ross, which I had the conversation, I know, with Joe recently on one of our most recent Cubs on Tap episodes. It's just like, which also, shameless plug, by the way, you mentioned platoons earlier. Go read Joe's article. Go read all our great articles over at www.ontapsportsnet.com. But, like, people are like, Ross is not the guy for the job. And I'm like, do you realize that Ross, like, just managed his, like, 187th game? Like, 2 weeks, like, a week ago? Like, the dude literally hasn't even managed 2 full MLB seasons. One of them was a shortened season because of fucking COVID, and the other one was literally the most biblical sell-off in potentially MLB history at a trade deadline.
Yeah.
How are you going to sit here and tell me the guy's not a good manager? Because guess what, Cody? You and I talked about it. We exchanged on Twitter during the game that we were having fun watching this Cubs team. You know why they're fun? Because they have a good energy in the clubhouse and they have a good culture. And you know who more often than not is the engineer of that culture? The fucking manager.
Right.
That's why they're there. Like, and just, again, we'll go down so many rabbit holes if I keep going on a rant. But my point being, because Cody, you nailed it, it's just like, if you truly want to have discussions with people like us who are just literally bashing our head off the wall because we are watching Cubs baseball every day.
Yeah.
If you want to have a conversation, let's have a conversation, but at least come prepared and watch this team because this team is fun. Today's game's a perfect example of that. Yes, they're going to have the hiccups, like, the game getting tied up after having, a 5-0 lead and whatever. That shit's going to happen in this type of season when you're still learning what you have. But these, like, watching Ian Happ perform right now is so much fun because now I'm sitting here going, son of a bitch, like, maybe he can put it together and, like, actually be something that the Cubs were hoping that he would be. Frank Schwindel, if nothing else, maybe for at least 2022 can be a fun story. Like, Wisdom's the same way. Like, there's still so much fun in this team that I can promise you the 2012 team did not have.
Right.
Because I vividly remember that team.
Right. There was no infrastructure within the organization. Who brought the Frank Schwindel literally signed with the team in like June.
Yeah, he was claimed off of waivers. Yeah,
right.
He was claimed off of waivers from
Patrick Wisdom was traded, DFA'd twice. The Cubs picked him up, they DFA'd him, then signed him in like January.
Yeah, it was literally like right after the start of the year.
All right.
Yeah.
Then you got Sergio Alcantara, who I'll admit defense is not bad, even though he did have an error today that led to 3 runs. But he'll come up with some timely hits. I still don't really know how I feel about him because when he came up, he was hot. Then he's been cold. I really don't know. But I am also not that worried because I know next year it's going to be Horner and Madrigal up the middle more often than not. Mm-hmm. But he could be a depth guy. Maybe I don't know what his splits are. Maybe he hits better from one side of the plate. I know he's a switch hitter, right? Like maybe he hits better from one side of the plate. I don't know. Maybe he only faces it. Like that's the same thing with Hermosillo, even though I think Hermosillo should play every day, in my opinion. But it's like that's that.
Right.
Other guys. I mean, I'm mentioning the main names. I mean, Rafael Ortega, he's at least earning himself a nice spot as a 4th outfielder next year. Or at the very least, he's your starting center fielder until you call up Brennan Davis because he's going to get called up next year. There's no way Brennan Davis doesn't get called up next year. I would be shocked if Brennan Davis is not a Cub next year.
Agreed. That's a dude I'm so excited for. I don't want to derail you, but continue. But that
right. So the whole point of the last 30 minutes, we're at 34, and for the first 4 minutes, I was probably just talking about the game. But I feel like ever since then,
we actually talked about the game,
right? But the rest of it we've been talking about is that you're seeing things out of these guys, and you're figuring out a role for them next year if you so choose. So I'm
Absolutely.
not saying they should find a role with all of them, because if they did that, then you're signing up for at best a 500 team, most likely. You have to make moves in the offseason. You have to get some pitching. You got to get some proven hitters with power to go with all the contact bats you have. All right. But for the rest of this year, you have what we're seeing right now is exactly what you want to see going into 2022. Because if it was just nothing, and if everything was just bad and there was nothing to celebrate or at least be hopeful for, then yeah, it really is like 2012. But again, the infrastructure is so different because of Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer. That just is like this isn't like. There's so many people. Even last night I was at the bar at this Tennessee bar because I got invited by a friend who invited me to go to some watch party for the Tennessee game. He's part of this alumni association in Chicago for the University of Tennessee. Nice. I was at the bar. Everyone's wearing orange. No one's talking about baseball. But some guy, after he learned that like 3 or 4 of us at the same table were Cubs fans, he started spewing the whole, you'll get another World Series, another 100 years or whatever. And it's like, I know he's trolling, but there are actual people who really think that the Cubs are just never going to be in it again because they sold off or because they lost this guy or that guy or because Theo's not in the front office anymore. And it's like, of all the things that piss us off about the Cubs have done well at transitioning guys into new roles when other guys leave. That literally is one thing that they've been able to do.
Yeah.
Like Jed Hoyer, everyone hated him after the trade deadline. And right now, after things have played out, he deserves an apology. I never slandered him. I was sad at the trade deadline, like you were. Like I was sad, but like I don't think either one of us thought that the moves were bad or that it wasn't the right move. You know what I mean? A lot of people were just like people were writing "fuck Jed Hoyer" on cars, like in Wrigleyville. I saw a picture on Twitter of someone doing it. I'm like, first off, you're vandalizing someone's car, and second off, like, do you even watch?
Yeah,
I don't know. There's just a lot of things that some people just like. You're like proving just how much of a bandwagon fan you are if you're not paying as close attention to what the Cubs have. I wholeheartedly believe this. Like I said, I know August was tough and they were trying to figure out where do you use guys in certain spots, and the pitching was bad and all of that. And I know we're playing the Pirates and I know we played the Twins and we're not playing anyone good, and it doesn't really fucking matter because we suck too. But the whole point of this entire conversation that we're having is that you're finding guys that can potentially have a role with the Cubs next year. And it gives you more leeway to spend money in certain areas in free agency, potentially make a trade. Like there's things coming to fruition that you can like hold your hat on and be excited about. And I just can't get why so many people on Cubs Twitter just don't get that. And they just want to think that there's no reason to watch this team and there's no reason to get excited about Patrick Wisdom being better than Matt Carpenter. Yeah. So, yeah, man, I'm just glad. Again, we're undefeated in this September. I asked for a 500 month. And maybe that was asking for too much. But right now, it feels like I asked for too less because we're undefeated in September. We're undefeated in September, and you're just going to have to deal with it. All of you. You're going to have to deal with it. I'm going to celebrate it because I'm happy because we're seeing growth. We're seeing things from guys that haven't had a chance with other teams. Like, that's the biggest thing about Patrick Wisdom. He never got a chance with the Cardinals. The Rangers never gave him a shot. The Mariners never gave him a shot. Nope. So the guy in my mentions talking about how Matt Carpenter is wholeheartedly better than fucking Patrick Wisdom, he has no idea what he's talking about. Because if you look at Patrick Wisdom's numbers, you could see the amount of at-bats he had before he came to the Cubs. Less than 100 with every team. And he hit 30 bombs multiple times at AAA for those affiliates, with the Cardinals and Rangers affiliates. Then the pandemic happens. Don't tell me that Patrick Wisdom's a fucking first-round bust when he never had the fucking opportunity. That's the whole thing that I've been talking about Patrick Wisdom for months.
Yeah.
He finally got an opportunity.
Yeah,
and Schwindel's getting an opportunity.
Yep.
Ortega's getting an opportunity. Again, maybe Patrick Wisdom's the only one that I feel like can really play every day at this point. But these guys are getting a shot to find a role with the Cubs next year. Like they're giving themselves a chance. And if it's not with the Cubs, I hope they go on and play well wherever it is. But if it's with the Cubs, they've at least earned a reason to be part of the team next year in some sort of fashion. I don't know how yet because free agency hasn't happened, but they are earning a chance. And that's the thing. That's all I ever asked. That's all I ever asked before the trade deadline when we talked about if they made all those trades, in which they did. I just wanted to have guys come up or wherever and give us a reason to watch and enjoy, whether it was winning or losing. That's all I ever asked.
And these guys are having fun, just like Aaron dropped in the comments. And yeah, and that makes this version of a quote unquote rebuild for the Cubs because like of what you said with the infrastructure. And it's a lot of the guys getting new opportunity. Like it's very different than the first time around. You know, it is Patrick Wisdom getting to play every day. It's Schwindel getting to play every day. It's Ian Happ truly getting to play every day. He was splitting a lot of time throughout the early part of the season. So and you're giving some of these bullpen guys like opportunities to truly prove themselves now as well. And for those that maybe are curious, the very high-flying, electric, exciting Toronto Blue Jays have 70 wins. The Cubs have 61. So, let's not sit here and pretend that this team is that atrocious. They're not. Yes, they have flaws. Absolutely have flaws. We just talked about them. You mentioned many of them. More pitching, established, power bats, things like that they need to go address in the offseason for, whatever it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever.
Yeah.
But they have plenty of talent on this team to still be fun the rest of this year and start finding those roles for guys going into the future because, like you said, the infrastructure is there and this team they're going to be fun to watch in September, which is going to be nice. It's honestly going to be a breath of fresh air because, sure, maybe they don't win a ton of games, but even if they go 500 like you asked for, to me, that's successful because you give guys like Manny Rod and those that we've listed, opportunity to do good things. And, You figure all of that out. I know that everybody's like, "Oh, the Ortega jersey's moving, and now it's on the ground."
It just fell. No,
it did fall.
Rip in peace.
R.I.P. But there is so much opportunity for this team to grow, and so it's going to be fun. Yeah.
I gotta show this comment.
Yeah, for those that didn't know who that was my younger brother. My two younger brothers are both special needs, so he was coming to find me because he didn't know where I was, and I had the jersey hanging on my door frame, and so door catches jersey, door closes, jersey falls. But
bad audio, great visual. If you're
great visual. If you are listening to this as a podcast, I apologize if you are confused as to what just happened. But overall, man, I mean, I'll sum my thoughts up on it. Today was a fun win. They needed this. They have such an opportunity. Yes, it never stood a chance, Aaron. They have such an opportunity to get so much development in this month of September. And that's going to be huge for the future of this team. And really, ultimately,
that's the big word is development.
Development.
Just like finding a role with the Cubs like that. Because if you don't have that development, if you don't find that role, then the Cubs really have nothing. And they probably should just tank next year and try and get a better draft pick for consecutive years. That's what they had to do at the beginning in the first rebuild because they had no fucking infrastructure.
Right. Yep. And we can't say that anymore because there is an infrastructure there. I mean, They have, because even going back to it, right? Like you mentioned that and people were like, well, but the Cubs sucked then. But it was like, no, Theo and Jed had to completely rebuild the farm. Yeah. The farm was in shambles. It was probably one of the worst in baseball for consecutive years. I remember the days of being hyped about Josh Vitters.
Felix PA.
Yeah, the list goes on and on, folks. Starlin Castro was really the first win for the old regime of the Cubs to actually develop a prospect and him have an actual impact at the major league level. Yeah. That was it. Now You look how they revamped the system on the fly, and now they've been drafting for a few years, and these kids are starting to make noise in the system. Like Brennan Davis was a 2018 draft pick. Braylon Marquez, I think, was like a 2017, 2018 draft pick. Ryan Jensen was a 2019 draft pick. Like the list goes on of these guys that have been drafted over the last 2, 3, 4 years. The infrastructure's there because they're coming along. The Dan Kantrovitz has his footprint now on the team. You have the pitching lab that's just, again, we joked about it earlier in the show, is just cranking out bullpen talent like it's a fucking factory.
Assembly line.
Yes, and that's what's going to be the difference in this Cubs rebuild compared to the last one. It's not going to take 5 years for this team to be competitive again. I would honestly say that they're going to start at least knocking on the door in 2. I really think in 2023, we're going to see the Cubs actually truly start like making some noise.
Oh, yeah.
And
next year it's pending free agency or
yes,
for division, a little bit of a tease or something. And
they just got to compete. Give me what the Toronto Blue Jays are doing this year in the AL East.
Right.
Like they're good enough to hang around with all the big guns, but they're still a year or 2 away from truly competing. That's okay. I would take that as a win for the Cubs because you know what? That means they're above 500.
Right.
I like teams.
Also, the AL East is a lot different too, right? Because the Yankees and the Red Sox
and
are always going, and even especially the Rays. Yeah.
Rays aren't they the second best record in baseball right now? I'll look this up.
Yeah.
But continue.
Like they're that division's so much different from the NL Central because the Cubs are the big market. The Cardinals should be a big market, but they don't run their franchise like a big market, even though they are paying Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt a ton of money. But other than that though, like they're not known for being major players in free agency. They also got those 2 guys via trade too. So and then they extended them. But there's been outside of signing Dexter Fowler in 2016 offseason, they're not ever really big players in free agency. No. The Brewers,
they traded for Yelich.
Yeah, they traded for Yelich,
but that was it. Right?
I will give them this, that their farm system is very good. They're very good at developing talent as well. They actually scare me more than the Cardinals if you look at a 5-year outlook. But again, when they're small market, they're going to go through more downs than ups. When they're at the top, they better win then, or it's just not going to work.
Right. Well, I was going to say, because let's be honest, there's only one small market team that can annually and continually do what they do, and it's the Rays because they developed that model. Like that's their bread and butter. Like that's the Andrew Friedman model, and that's why the Dodgers have been so good because it's Andrew Friedman, but he has money to play with.
But he has money to play with. Right. But then you look at the Reds, who they're in the wild card right now. They look really good. You know what their team's going to look like next year? Is Nick Castellanos? Are they going to pay Nick Castellanos? I don't know. And Joey Votto's coming out like it's 2016 again when he was mashing like probably the best first baseman in the league. But you don't know what that Reds team's going to look like next year. And then the Pirates,
they're the Pirates.
They're the Pirates, man. Like they
until that team gets sold, I don't think they're ever going to do anything.
It's just so. The Pirates, the Cubs really broke them in 2015. They really broke them, and they haven't ever been able to get back to anywhere since then. But all that said,
the best thing that Jake Arrieta ever did to that franchise, just broke the Pirates.
Literally broke
one tweet, and an epic performance broke an entire franchise.
Yeah,
give me that 30 for 30. What if I told you one tweet and an epic wildcard performance could completely dismantle a franchise?
But anyway, man, I'm saying though, the NL Central is a lot different than the AL East, which is why I think the Cubs could be right there at the top of the division next year, pending free agency and making a trade here or there or whatever. Tom's got all the pressure on him. He's got the entire city ragging on him. We got Jed Hoyer, who, from the casual fan probably still thinks is a fucking idiot, but it's his first full off season without COVID repercussions coming, and stuff like that. Obviously the CBA is going to play a big role in what the Cubs do. Absolutely. I just think there's a lot to look forward to. Yeah. I know we want to have the expectation of winning the World Series every year. I understand that. I'm not saying that having expectations to maybe win the division next year is bad. But it is something. It's better. Like, it's so much better than just thinking, we're gonna suck. We got to root for losses. Like that's not fun.
Mm-hmm.
That was never fun.
No,
you know what I mean. So
never fun.
I feel like we haven't really talked enough about the game. The game was so great. We've just been talking about all the people that are in our mentions and
we did talk about the game though.
Stuff.
I mean, we talked very heavily about guys like Hermosillo, and we took the game and we went more on this season long and future route with today's game.
We always do it.
We do. But
the thing is I always end up doing it because I get so annoyed with the people on Twitter just ratioing me. And it's just like, I'm not even like slinging hot takes out there. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to be an optimistic Cubs fan. Some of you are just fucking unbearable. Like it's like you hate life. You hate to see that. I hate people who want to be like that. I really do. I don't hate them, but like I hate that idea of being that way.
Right.
So
being
it's just a great
miserable is not fun.
Right. But anyway, man, it's just 2 wins. Got 2 wins to start the series, so we're at least splitting. Would love to see us get 1 more and take 3 or 4 at least. Mm-hmm. You did it with Alec Mills today. So I was assuming we got Kyle Hendricks tomorrow.
We do.
All right. So like, I mean, that tomorrow is a perfect day to make it 5 straight, brother.
It is. And are you ready to talk a little bit about tomorrow? Because as great as today's win was, like I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy it, but I'm going to enjoy tomorrow too because, as you mentioned, Kyle Hendricks is on the bump for the Cubs. Another beautiful 120 start at Wrigley Field on Saturday, September 4th. Usual suspects, if you're listening in the Pirates market, KDKA FM 93.7, AT&T Sportsnet Pittsburgh, and then for the Cubs, 670 The Score, WRTO 1200 and Marquee Sports Network are where you can find that game. As we mentioned, Kyle Hendricks, 14-6, 4.43 ERA, and 117 Ks for him on the season. He is on the bump, and it is TBD, according to MLB.com right now for the Pirates. So we don't know who's going to be pitching tomorrow. I think that's going to probably have a huge play in who's in the lineup. Obviously, if we see another lefty like we saw today with Brault, I think you could probably expect a similar lineup to today's game. But if it's a righty tomorrow, that probably kind of flips the script a little bit on what the lineup could look like. So it'll be interesting, but nonetheless, Cody, quick thoughts on tomorrow's game, and you got a fly the W pick for us.
Who did you say is pitcher for the Pirates?
TBA. They haven't announced it yet.
Okay. Yeah. My bad. I kind of zoned out there for a second.
That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess on the last pod I took Ian Happ and he hit a 2-run homer last night and he continued to rig today. So I guess I'll just ride with him again.
Love it.
Because it's better than taking Kyle Hendricks because Kyle Hendricks is Kyle Hendricks. But yeah, I'll take Ian Happ again tomorrow and honestly, just like the rest of the weekend. I know our friend Dom, he's out there. He's got the receipts. He might have one of my receipts out there because I was so done with Ian Happ for a couple months, honestly.
Yeah.
But he's really coming on, here in September and, since mid-August, honestly. It's frustrating because, he's coming on when it really doesn't matter. But it is also encouraging because it's like, all right, you can feel good about, going to arbitration or not going to arbitration, but, going with another year of arbitration with him at, less than $5 million next year. There's no way they're going to have to pay him more than $5 million next year. If they do, I just don't understand how money works in baseball, I guess. But you're going to pay him little to nothing next year to, play corner outfield. Because apparently it just seems that he plays better he hits better when he's playing corner outfield.
I agree.
I don't maybe he just doesn't feel as much pressure in those spots. I don't know. But either way, I think that's where he's going to be because they're probably going to play Ortega in center until Brennan Davis comes up, where Brennan Davis will be there. So I'm okay if they bring Ian Happ back and roll with that. But I still would like to get an outfielder in free agency, a la Nick Castellanos. But I know you like that, Ron. But
I do. I do.
Kyle Hendricks tomorrow, 3 runs in 6 innings. It's like an assembly line. I know against the White Sox he wasn't great. I was like praying. I was honestly praying. I was like, man, would love to just take 2 or 3 from the South Side on Sunday after all of the slander I've had to take, all the slander I got to I've had to deal with. But of course, Eloy just had to remind us again. But it is what it is. It is what it is. It doesn't necessarily pain me anymore with that situation. So, yeah, man. I just keep it rolling and keep growing, keep developing, keep just grinding at bats, and just like just have that. Like, I just want this team to have a chip on its shoulder to be like, yeah, we're like, this isn't going to be like it used to be. Like, we're going to be like, I want these guys to have a mentality of like, we're going to be part of the next great Cubs team.
Yeah. Not
all of them will, but I want some of them to, and at least some of them, if they have that mentality, it'll at least probably help them get a new contract with another team eventually at some point. So
absolutely.
Yeah, man. Good times. Good times. I can't believe I'm saying that. We got 61 wins in September. I can't believe I'm saying it. But hey.
Ain't it wild?
It's wild.
It really is. It's a different franchise now when you compare it to the last rebuild. This team is, again, the culture is there, the infrastructure is there. It's just, it really is a different vibe this time around than it was the first time. And I agree with you. I'm looking forward to a Kyle Hendricks start tomorrow. He's always really good at home, especially against the Pirates. So I would expect him to do good things. I think the weather's supposed to be perfect tomorrow. It's going to be trademark Kyle Hendricks weather. It's going to be like 75 and sunny for first pitch. Oh, buddy. And, but I'm going to go a little off the board, I think, with my pick. It's tough because I'm like, well, I want to go with this guy and I want to go with this guy. And like, I want to take Schwindel. But I have this hunch. And I know I have this hunch because it's going to happen when I unfortunately need to get ready to leave my house to take care of job duties tomorrow evening. Calling it St. Xavier's opening football game of the season tomorrow. Very excited about that. But I'm going to take Patrick Wisdom to tie Chris Bryant's rookie home run record, and he will be my Fly the W pick. Because I have a feeling I'm going to walk out of the house and it's going to happen. And we'll be like, son of a bitch, somebody's got to get to that article.
I'm going to be at a wedding. I'm going to be at a wedding and a reception tomorrow, which means that, yes, he will probably do it when I'm not watching.
Right.
And you're going to go call that game. I'm going to be at this wedding half, drunk, whatever, and not paying attention as much. And then I'm going to get the update and I'm going to be like, God damn it, I missed it.
I know. And imagine
we're basically sacrificing ourselves for Patrick Wisdom to break this record or to tie this record.
And maybe he breaks it. Maybe he hits 2 tomorrow and he breaks it. You know what I mean? Because again, we volunteer ourselves as tribute for the good of the Chicago Cubs. You ate a jar of mayo. I'm cool with missing out on a historic moment if that means Patrick Wisdom gets the job done. He gets the 27 tomorrow. That'd be pretty cool for him. So I'm going to go with Patty Weiss. I think he's going to be my he had some good at bats today. He sent a couple to the warning track. I mean, if he gets just a little more of them, they're probably in the seats. So I think he gets it done tomorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and take Wisdom for my Fly the W pick.
Before we get out of here, I want to give a shout out to his name's Kevin Hamilton. He's the guy who won the giveaway I did on Twitter because I got so much fucking memorabilia and just Cub stuff that I just have no space for.
I feel that.
He's a guy who won. I told him I'd give him a shout out on the podcast. So if he's listening, I don't know if he's in the stream, but if he's listening on the podcast version, thanks for listening, man. Keep following along. Hopefully you're a lot more positive Cubs fan than some of the people in my mentions. I'll say that much. Well, I'm probably going to do another one next week. I got a lot of crap, man. And whatever we got to do to increase engagement, I'm willing to do it because I got so much stuff.
Well, and we love engagement here at Cubs on Tap. We love when everybody comes and chats with us, whether it's on Twitter, in the comments here, and you can follow along. And as you mentioned, Cody, before we get out of here, I do want to remind everybody, because we are the official Cubs podcast, the On Tap Sports Network. You can find all of our great work, www.ontapsportsnet.com and at OnTapSportsNet on social media. You can find the pod-specific accounts. We are at Cubbies on Tap. That's Cubbies on Tap. That's Instagram and Twitter. I am at Loose on Tap on Twitter. Cody's at Cody on Tap on Twitter. Follow all of our other great panelists and contributors as well, at Marty Laval, at Juice on Tap, at Joe. He's now at Joe on Tap, by the way. Very excited about that. Yes!
He Joe finally changed it.
He did. He's now at Joe on Tap. He's got a new handle, so make sure when you're looking for him, you find that. As well as the Riot 326, Joey Ricotta, who's been on quite a bit with us lately as well. So make sure you go follow all of them. And let's be honest, Cubs fans, a lot of us are Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks fans. We got great coverage for all of those 3 teams. Their season's coming, right up. Bears obviously start next weekend. Blackhawks start in October, early to mid-October, and then the Bulls start at the end of October. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And Yeah, let's be honest, Cubs fans. We all know White Sox fans. We all have friends that are Sox fans, but you bring them over. Our Sox team does a great job covering the Southsiders as well. So once again, www.ontapsportsnet.com, at OnTapSportsNet on social media, the OnTap Sports Network. Go ahead and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports.
And
Cody?
if you gamble,
yes.
on tap bets, because I've been writing shit up about that. So
absolutely, yeah. Hey, I feel like I don't know about you, but I feel like the college football season, the NFL season when it starts again, that's like the rebirth of like sports betting for me. You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like
for me,
baseball is such a toss up during the summer. There's not as many events, it feels like, to bet on sports wise during the summer. But we're getting to that point in the season now where like the sports bettors come back out of the woodwork and they're like, I'm back, baby.
That was me last night.
On tap bets.
Last night, brother.
So yeah,
I was so excited to get my heart broken when I missed an over by a point. I was very excited. Did you
take Ohio State on the minus 14.5 by chance? Because I know it ended up 14, and I know there's a lot of bad beats there.
I got it at 14 actually.
Oh, perfect.
I pushed, but I did take the under on that game, which went way over. And yeah, that's not the one. I mean, I was annoyed, but I was like, there was another one that I took the over on. I missed by a point. It's the worst, but
it's tough.
It's just like, it's just the feeling that you're just glad it's back. Like you're glad, you got the anxiety during the game and you're just like, man, these teenagers are going to win me money or piss me off. Like, can't wait. And when the NFL season gets here, it's the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, college basketball. Oh man. On tap bets, folks. Go follow us. Me, Zach, Ron, Joey. Yeah, like we're really trying to build on tap bets. So if you're into gambling and all that, being a degenerate like me, go follow it, and I got picks out for tonight's game. It's 5:30. You can go, if you're watching the stream, you can go see what I put. But I'll have another one out tomorrow morning as well, or tomorrow before the game. So,
and you'll find that at www.ontapsportsnet.com, and then you can find it. Cody will have it on Twitter. He'll be tagged in it. On Tap Bets on Twitter. Go follow them. You get the idea. You get what we're putting down here.
Yes,
come follow
we're just
along.
Promoting everything.
Yeah. Hey, come follow along with us. It's a fun time of the year. It's going to be good. September and October, like, maybe the two best like sports months of the year, because like every sport's in season or close to in season. Like the anticipation's there. Like it's good. It's a good time of the year. The leaves start changing colors. The weather gets nice. Like it's just,
hell yeah.
I'm excited. I'm ready. So, but Cody, great episode again, as always. For those that are listening, we will be back. Obviously not tomorrow, Saturdays. We typically don't do shows here at Cubs on Tap. We will be back on Sunday, and then we'll probably also do a show on Labor Day as well in some capacity. And then again, we'll just keep rolling through this schedule. Cubbies, we'll see the Cincinnati Reds coming up here. Obviously, the Giants will be back in town next weekend. I'll be at that game on Saturday to welcome
I'll be
KB
at the game
back
on Tuesday. The Cubs and the Reds on Tuesday.
There you go.
In like section 216 or 215. I can't remember off the top of my head. But
nice.
Season ticket holder lady. She
coming through in the clutch again.
She came through one more time for the year. So
beautiful.
I'm gonna hopefully go watch the Cubs win. Maybe see Nick Castellanos hit a homer against us. That's what I'd prefer to see, is to do well, but also the Cubs win at the same time.
It'll be a great game by the Chicago Cubs, and Nicholas Castellanos drives the ball to left field. Anyway, you get the joke. So, what do you say, Cody? We get out of here the only way to how to, my man.
Let's go Cubs and fuck Matt Carpenter.
Let's go Cubbies.